out. Good night. No, I'm just kidding. I got roped into being the MC for Weasel, a good friend of mine, publisher to many of us, and we're all proud to come up and do a little reading with him. And so, first up, if you will, Mr. King John.
All right. Thank you very much.
And John.
Yeah, I love me some Chris Wise, man. He wrote the best poem ever about hating your boss, which I kept, not you, but my other bosses. The female bosses. Female bosses. Yeah. I kept that for years. Oh, it's not being sexist. It's a long story that I won't bore you with. But let's just say, don't make your honey where you make your money. Boom. All right, now, I have a foot problem. So before I'm going to sit down and explain what happens before we get underway here, so I don't have to say it many times. Thank you. All right, there we go. I can be loud. So my girlfriend Melissa, who I love dearly, decided one time recently to try to pumice off a callus on the bottom of my left foot. Unfortunately, she pumiced off too much and it opened a wound which got infected, and I had to have surgery. I won't bore you with all the details, but they removed a bone in my foot, so I'm currently hobbling around on recovery status. But I couldn't miss Weasel's going away party because Weasel has done so much for the Houston and Clear Lake poetry communities. He's one of the edgiest poets in town. And I can't believe he's going to freaking Michigan where he's going to freeze his balls off. But that's his choice. All right? So he just published my latest book, which is called Email Epistles. And what it is responses to other people's emails. I'll get emails every day from other poets who send me poems or things they've been thinking about. And some of y'all know Tom, the world poet out of Austin. He kind of got me on this chain with about a dozen poets. So I kind of started responding to people. And I thought, well, this is shit that's fresh and, right now. And then my former girlfriend, graphic designer, said she didn't want to type any more of my shit. So I said, well, why don't I just send you all these poems I've been sending on the internet recently? So she made it into a book, and Weasel published it. So thank you, Weasel. So I'm going to start with a few poems about contemporary problems. And by the way, all the titles are the taglines on the internet. So, you got anything else is referring to, blah, blah. So this is Ray, add your name. We must address Facebook's dangerous concentration of corporate power. I hate Facebook. The way it steals your data for corporate profit and the machinations of the surveillance state. I hate the way it dredges moments you were glad to end. I hate the ease of like and share, where people pretend they'll appear at your gigs but never do. Present company accepted. I post nothing on social media, and you might call me antisocial, but I prefer the actual meat space interaction. So much more than a cyber cell hell, where you can't really tell what is true or faux or yes or no, except when told by some billionaire millennial financed by the CIA and hiding algorithms meant to crush real dissent behind a wall of false, pious PC proclamations that aren't even an approximation of lived reality, as now even Generation Z can see, comment on, and mock, only to be banned in what was once a proudly free land. And anyone who relies on Facebook for accurate information or an unbiased look into what's happening on our ship of fools deserves this manipulated high-tech tool. All right, that's Big John LeBon goes, yes. I always tell people, don't bother to clap, but snapping your fingers is cool. It's a very beat thing, Weasel's very beat. Speaking of poets, oh, by the way, this is Big John on the bongos, accompanies me, kind of a local legend here in Houston for going to many old-time rock and roll shows back in the day. I think who have you seen around here? Weren't you older than Methuselah? I think he saw Christ in his original incarnation. All right, so this is called Rethink Again. Deification of dead poets may indeed suck, but when life is drained from the living through devices become vices, better not to duck. Time to keep giving. Some radicals join ISIS. Some join an alleged rebellion. Really, a co-opted corporate war Janus. Now, you may hate the raging orange hellion steering our dying empire like Nero, but his lies are the ugly, honest face of a sick, violent, materialistic society that subconsciously, finally, decided, rather than pretend to be the world's hero, it would show its bloody fangs for posterity. As to the role of writing, in an era of endless backbiting, when people wonder if it's worth fighting, I say, read more Orwell. He had the keys to this hell, but not 1984. Try Down and Out in Paris and London, a book which made me glad I never worked in a kitchen. And read Auden's tribute to Yeats to learn about the poetic greats. Then quote Julius Shakespeare's Julius Caesar. William Shakespeare's Julius Caesar. Jan Cassius hath a lean and hungry look. Wonder why should you write another book when a fat, wheelchair-bound homeless begs you for money at the Walmart and your revulsion starts? Remember, this life is priceless, and what you do with it is your choice. Groovy, baby. Groovy. All right, so this was something that I wrote. Sometimes I'll get these emails and I just want to be completely contrarian. Got a lot of contrarian in me. So people will send these real positive, upbeat emails, and I'll just slam back with my negative shit. So this is, the regarding is an emotional intelligence primer in the form of a tender illustrated poem about our capacity for love. Marcus Aurelius' key to living fully and more. I mean, I don't think I've smoked that much pot in years to be into that quote. So I call this one retitled Emotional Intelligence. You'll catch a couple of the art references. My heart is a public toilet. My heart is a steaming stream. My heart is a full urinal where Duchamp took a dump. A fountain of regrets, a mountain crowded as Everest at peak times, where morons queue to die. My urethra is connected to all, sharing a yellow river, pumping intermittently. My heart winds through China, my head an aqueduct in ancient Rome. Below me, an ancient gypsy cures my impotence like a character in Satyricon, with my heart dead and gone. And I actually put apologies to any delicate sensibilities on that.
I like your heart being a public toilet with a little bongo in the background.
Hey, yeah, it adds to something there. You always hear plop, plop.
It really
It's just sort of going
Dumped in
to.
the too.
Speaking of which, I like dark humor. A shotgun suicide to the jaw that fails. A bank robber sent to prison for tax evasion. A talking bird who can only say, I can't speak. Fish in the ocean who say, humans pee in this water. A surrealist artist tasked with a formal portrait. A silent movie comic with an operatic voice. An Egyptian who mummified his cat for afterlife affection. A man with dementia carrying the nuclear launch codes. The fact that Richard Nixon was a Quaker and Shaker furniture is rustic yet outrageously expensive. When your lover is the ultimate cosmic joker, pointing out the truth that you're not the cream of the crop, which she did. I lost my wallet in New Orleans one time, and she was like, well, you're not the cream of the crop. I think I was passed out in an alley somewhere. Thanks, Melissa. True. Pointing out that your lover says, you're not the cream of the crop, I bellow a belly laugh that may never stop. Because we all live in a meaningless universe where we constantly seek meaning. So here was when I was being surrealistic. So, trippy. I was a teenage adult. Fast flow of river in the canyons. At the top of the pint, mound in the bottom of the ground. With my songs of glued triumph, when the wings soared, I was wearing tire tread sandals, small, tight as an acrobat, heavily tripping on ecstasy and THC, sold separately. Ear lost at the exit of this earth, where I delightedly at heights roll where cheese wheels ideas roll, roll, roll through happy myths and dark concretes, transfixed by the scrolling breaking news. Take a croissant jelly Methodist, dropping 5 burnt ostriches, 6 soaring aircraft carriers, 7 chemical compounds, 8 oysters Rockefellers, 9 named Indians on metal teepees. And you should never give parables with a pour of Mrs. Dash and a ginger beard. Now, to lock the loudness, destroy old lines like Dostoevsky for experts. I must have waked and baked that morning or something. I really don't remember writing that, so there it is. Well, now I'm a lawyer. I didn't say that. Please don't tell the bar. All right. On this one, here's another pompous title I'm getting from these people. Regarding David White on love, Herman Hesse on solitude, the value of hardship, and how to find your destiny. Nick Cave on art in the age of AI. You get that at 7 in the morning when you're on the toilet. What the fuck am I going to do with that? You know? I don't know. Well, here's what I did with it. Has solitude turned me rude? Was Nietzsche a Nazi? Was Hesse a Buddhist? As I grow older, tired and less bolder, life is still the oldest riddle. I'm toast hot off the griddle. With these words I fiddle, knowledge's holy spittle. China's latest broadcast from the dark side of the moon reminds me future and past are only present's anteroom. While I only care to stare, my youth's truth now an empty dare. Like the ball toss at the country fair, I try to win the teddy bear and lose the reason why I care. A loving pair in silent despair. Well, that turned really sad and dark. All right. I'm going to do a couple more. How about 3 more? We got time?
Yeah.
All right. So here was something from Tom. Dropping Bibles instead of bombs. Right? I mean, you can imagine how I reacted to that one. All right?
They're kind of the same.
But in a way, they are. They both contain a big truth, I guess, and a bombing at the end. Or an apocalypse at the end, right? I mean, Revelation is basically an apocalypse. I was lucky enough to go to Patmos one time, actually. It's a detour, digression. But I was able to go into the cave where John wrote the apocalypse in Patmos Island in Greece. It's really cool. It's like this underground grotto cave, and you have to crawl down in there. And supposedly the story goes that John was like 90, and he was sitting at this stone thing, and every day scratched out the next white horse revolution or whatever. You know, who knows? But it's kind of cool. But this has nothing to do with that. I hated high school, but loved philosophy. I was drawn to the darker existentialists. I believed Sartre when he said, hell is other people. Yep. Like Camus' Sisyphus, I fancied myself uniquely rolling the burdensome boulder of life up every hill, only to realize later that my hell was myself. Heaven was where I could free my mind, beyond good and evil. While the devil, he lived in the man who shot John Lennon. I stood on a mossy hill that December, holding hands in a circle with a high school friend who 3 years later would become my college lover, teaching me that heaven is truly loving another and hell is losing that feeling. Now my current woman lies snoozing beside me, and I pray for all souls to sleep peacefully, live joyfully, and never suffer want. But then I wake up. All right, so I was in a punk rock band in the 80s, Peace Corps. We played in Austin a lot. If you know anything about the old punk rock days, we played with bands like Scratch Acid and the Hickoids. I know all those guys. Those had really short hair and screamed. We had skinhead fans, and it was hard to believe. But I've been seeing a lot of my old punk rock friends dying, unfortunately. You know, you hit a certain age and that hard lifestyle, so I had to go to Austin a few times and go to people's memorial services. So somebody sent me something about dancing with despair and depression, so I wrote this. Punk rock nihilism is soured romanticism. Austin was an epicenter of youth crying, but now the old school is dying of old age, depression, drugs, suicide, lack of hugs, early cynicism swept under rugs, optimism curdling to DT bugs. Anger may be an energy, but the second law of thermodynamics ensures final entropy will win and make you sick.
You're here.
Here, here. All right, I'm going to do two more. I got one that I was going to do, and then I want to end on a happy note. I remember when I first put out my first book, so they said, can you read something happy? And I flipped it, and no, I'm afraid I can't. There's nothing happy in here. So I remembered from every book's ministry, I tried to balance it a little. But this is not going to be happy. So, how you doing over there, John? You hanging in there? Why don't you give me an intro here? All right. You go, oh, yeah, that damn chimp has a house in Tarzana, and it's still sitting and collecting royalties. The natives are restless. We want to know where we came from. Bertrand Russell said, if God created the universe, who created God? Albert Einstein said, God does not play dice with the universe. Stephen Hawking said, the universe is shaped like a shuttlecock. Does he mean God plays badminton with the universe? Or the universe is a bad backyard children's game? Or maybe Earth is a tetherball and the sun its stable central pole. Then Hawking asks, what is south of the South Pole? Now the answer is easy. Empty space. Of course, he had the academic chair once held by Sir Isaac Newton, while I'm just lying on my couch being lazy. But from this seat, quantum theories about the origin of the universe or multiverse, or even this free verse bump up against our two human limitations. Scientists keep devising ever more elaborate explanations for what may simply lie beyond our comprehension. I know this. I came from my mother's womb. One day, I'll lose my heat energy and entropy into a tomb. Until then, people can launch all the Hubble telescopes, build the Large Hadron Collider, shoot off deep space probes, formulate mathematical equations, wear sage robes, pontificate on the unknowable origin of everything. Well, I wonder if whatever forces rule this realm rolled 7 or snake eyes when they seized the helm. All right, and now, ooh, I know that makes you want to go to Vegas for some reason. All right, so I'm going to read something pleasant at the end to clear the air of all my negative energy.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That was great.
Ray, love the jazz jam. Love each other as sisters and brothers. Lose ourselves as spiritual elves. Love the daily jam. Love what I am. Love you from afar. Love who you are. Love the brook of life. Even love the strife. Love the ocean of hope. Love some good dope. Love the search for paradise. Even, in the end, if it's just golden lies. Awake with renewed eyes and dry the fears you cry. Groovy, baby. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I love these guys. I can't wait to hear them perform. Thank you, Weasel. Thank you, Chris.
All right.
Yeah, now the elders must vacate the stage.
Do you want to stay?
The young folks to come on. You want to do any more bongos, John? I'm sure they'd love to have you. All right, yes. Hold and out of breath.
All right, Ken. Next up to the mic, a man who needs
So how'd you like?
a long introduction for all his pedigrees,
Pretty good with it?
and greatness,
I
and
played with him.
accomplishments. Me. No, I'm just kidding. It really is me. I don't know about all the rest of it. So I had all this picked out, you know. I figured I had it all thought out. I knew what I wanted to do. And then you ever get somewhere and you figure, I don't want to do all that anymore. I want to do something else. So Weasel published my book, Colliding with Orion. I'm a writer, and I believe that people, you can mine your own life for writing. It doesn't always have to be sorrow, sadness, misery, so on and so forth. It can be, you know, being at the red light, being at the cashier, doing whatever. And so I put this book together, and Weasel was good enough to publish it, and we've sold a good amount of copies of it too, have we not?
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I've got 2 over there. If anybody's interested. When I was young, I used to work out all the time. You wouldn't know by looking at me now, but I did. I was in the Army. And then when I got out of the Army, I was working out with this girl, I had to lose 55 pounds. And I went over to her house one time, and her dad saw me, and I was real poor, you know. And then he threw me out of the house. Told me, he said, get rid of that white trash. And so I was thrown out, and this was my home. They called me white trash, and any other day I'd laugh, but today I didn't. They're Hispanic and own a boat and have 3 cars and a 2-story house on the canal. Now I understand why their daughter was told to get rid of me when I came to visit, because that's what you do with trash. They laugh at people who live in trailers. My best friend lives in a trailer. We were roommates once. I don't have the best manners. I don't have good clothes, and I used to couldn't afford 2 meals a day. But I served in the U.S. Army, worked my way through college, and I believe in being thankful for what you got, even when other folks are laughing at the best you can do. So if I'm white trash, man, I come by it honest. Yeah. I used to not need glasses. Those were good times.
I bought you glasses.
I know you did. They're over there. They're in a purse somewhere. Yeah, I'm trying to maintain my pride, but I'm about to break down. So, I was hanging out with these people, and they were talking about how these hunters, right, were kind of these low-class sort of inbred sort of folks, you know, and I wanted to respond to that. It's called cellophane vanity. It says, I had this terrible nightmare where a rash fell over the horizon, scratched raw by the wine-dark sea. And the sun rose like an exit song, trying to bud between saloon door clouds, but its shape was wrong, deformed by suffocated rainbow. People below had become so divorced from the earth, they ridiculed those who posed proudly in photos with fish they caught or animals they hunted, yet gladly ate those steaks from the absorbent diaper linings of yellow styrofoam and cellophane packages. They who spent money for artificially colored processed foods that were genetically engineered and soaked in pesticides were in their minds superior to the redneck bumpkin that used skill to join family and friends on an outing in nature to acquire some of what they ate. They were inferior to those who never left the house or the city but swore they loved the earth. Man, it was a frightening nightmare that burned from the heavens to the soil where the irritated, red-headed grub twisted, burning, pushing through the earth near the succulent roots of the tomato plant out back. It's about people filling their heads full of all these things they tell you can do, and you know it's bullshit, you know what I mean? You can be anything you want. No, you probably can't. You know what I mean? But you know, give it a good go, by all means, but you know, let's keep it real. Whatever real is, I guess. Hogtied. Somebody told me once I could be anything, so I wanted to fly. Pilots look rich and get to see so much, but I'm colorblind. Was denied. Then I wanted to be a doctor of some kind, but I dreamed of helping people, and there's a lot of reading though, and I'm dyslexic and I could never afford the tutor. Politics was out. I have a terrible reputation, and I can't lie worth a dime, and being a preacher was impossible because God's been tied up in a lawsuit against the United States for denying his right to do business, and it'll be a miracle if he wins. I tried to do a lot of things I dreamed about, and each time, no, for some good reason. So I'm left with what they left me, wanting, until I can no longer even have that. Then maybe those who told me I could do anything will rescue me when I'm fat, busted, and broken. Maybe I'll think they're my savior and love them like a god. And maybe that's what they wanted all along. Some people are real good about writing about politics, man. I'm not. I'm very good at it at all. But sometimes things in your lives just are actually political. You know what I mean? And so you got kind of that front row seat to the issues. This is my poem about that. It's called The Small Thing. And by the way, like, I'm one of those rare people that think anymore. It seems like when you go out in public, people want to tell you what you can and can't say, what you can and can't think, what you can and can't believe. And if you don't do it their way, they don't want to be around you. They don't even want to be your friend on Facebook. I mean, how silly is that? And then, of course, they want you unhireable, they want you unmentionable, and all of these things. Instead of a debate, maybe to show you how dumb your idea is or how good theirs is, maybe you should change mine. I used to think abortion was an answer until one night, over a prepackaged scampi and cocktail sauce, my second ex-fiance told me pain had hooped her like a crawfish in a blood-smeared bathtub. There was blood everywhere. A secret suspected pregnancy confirmed when she produced a fetus no bigger than a shrimp. Weeping, alone, and heart-burst, she cradled my son, my daughter, dropped it in the water colored with urine and blood, and flushed it like a cockroach. Well, let me see what I got. Yeah, it's kind of heavy, right? You know, that's happened to me a couple times in my life. Never did get married, I never did have kids, but I love kids. So, one time when I was young, I was dating this girl for a little time. I remember I didn't treat her very good. And life goes by, you know, she ended up moving on. And she ended up marrying this guy and had a baby with him. And then she was 9 months pregnant. I grew up in Lake Dallas, which is up outside of Dallas, Texas. And, well, let me just say I lost touch with her. And I was walking around my trailer park. I was in Kingswood trailer park out there. It was such a bad trailer park. Somebody ate a peacock out there one time. There was a peacock farm nearby. And they ate these carcass of peacock. Even the feathers, you know, it was like $1 a piece or something. They didn't even think to sell them. But anyway, I saw this pretty girl walking around there, and I was visiting with her. Ended up being the sister of this girl I used to date so long before. And I asked where she was at. And she's told me, you know, that she'd been married and whatever. And her and I were supposed to meet for a spaghetti dinner. Now, you know, it doesn't really take a lot of money to have a spaghetti dinner, but for your $1, that's a nice dinner, you know. Well, she didn't show up that night. We were supposed to go out, and come to find out, she lived 4 trailers up from me. This dude that she was married to murdered Amy in the hotel room. 9 months pregnant, went over, and her mom was one of those old ladies that kind of rolled around in a moo-moo all the time, you know what I mean? Never really dressed. She was just kind of sweet old lady, you know? Strangled her to death and killed her. And then came back, crushed a 12-pack of beer until the cops came. But I guess he threw Amy's body in a gallon, what is it, an oil barrel, threw it in a field. So this is a poem about having a picture of her. It says, all I have is her smile and an old Polaroid. She took the picture herself, and her face is forward, right, and low. But in the background, you can see some of my things. Evidence she once stood here, against the backdrop of my little radio, nightstand, unpaid bills, water-stained sheetrock, and I think that's one of my paintings there in the corner. She walks with God now, but I keep her picture on the radio and sometimes turn it on, hold the Polaroid, and dance with her in my mind. It was like Billy Nelson. Billy Nelson. our Villanelle French form. It's pretty fun. I wrote a crown of sonnets, and I took the couplet off the Shakespearean sonnet, and then I cracked it apart, and I made that be my refrain on my Villanelle. And Villanelle, you know, English isn't such a great language to rhyme in, because most of our words end in consonants, where Spanish, most of your Romance languages, Romance meaning Latin based, they end in vowels, and so they're pretty easy to rhyme in, you know. So this is a challenge that I did, and it's called, "While the world decays in bright confetti, we charge it confidently unrehearsed. We'll break ourselves long before we're ready. Armed with our comforts and obesity, we shove our neighbors so we might be first. While the world decays in bright confetti, we trick ourselves out for the least money, then reeling wonder why we've been so cursed. We'll break ourselves long before we're ready. Some crack cold wounds while the rest fall sweaty, shouting in a roar how they've earned their thirst. While the world decays in bright confetti, are exhausted, 'cause the drunk is lazy, who attack the work week at heaving burst. We'll break ourselves long before we're ready. And gasping on straight whiskey or rosary, the hourglass stands for better or worse. While the world decays in bright confetti, we'll break ourselves long before we're ready." Yeah. All right, well, that's it for me. Why don't we go ahead and bring up Man of the Hour? Well, we're cutting the losses for him. See how it works your title in it?
Yeah.
We want to hear who is proud, loud. All right, put your hands together, please. And welcome for one of the last times, Weasel.
So, first off, I want to thank all of you for actually coming out tonight. This is like probably my last reading here, my last official reading in Houston. I may have one other one come up. I'm not sure. Details are kind of in the air. But there will be a Gulf Coast Poets holiday reading at the Friends of Public Library, which is on Facebook. So I probably already sent you the Facebook invite for it. If you haven't, let me know, and I'll get to it. This year has been a challenging and very changing year for me. I have a new book out called Cut the Loss, and I'm working on another book called Time Passes Like Flames in the Distance. So I'm going to read a little bit of both. Cut the Loss deals with a lot of suicidal ideation, my current relationship, my past relationship, mental abuse. Pretty heavy book. So I know Ken Jones has reviewed it lovingly. Thank you. And got a couple of other good reviews from Edward Vidal. I hope I'm saying that right. So, but tonight, I'm going to read a lot of sex poems. So, 'tis the season, motherfuckers. I'm going to open up with a poem to the Muses. Bukowski's ghost watches me fuck in the corner. While smoking a cigarette, his body sits tired, eyes squinted. He says, I'm not drunk enough, that being sober while fucking is a delusion. I tell him, even in death, he's drunk enough for the both of us. When I kiss the curve of your neck, he asks if the fires of madness are worth the prayer to lessen our pain. I tell him while stroking your cock that there's only soul in this room. The universe blessed me when I tasted you. Bukowski lights another cigarette and grunts in the darkness. He says the whole world is waiting outside. I tell him to let it wait. They'll still be pissed in the morning. I read this poem earlier at the Gulf Coast Poets. This deals with my my ex-husband, or soon-to-be ex-husband. Hopefully, we'll see how that goes. But so a few weeks ago, I got to meet Buddy Wakefield. He did a reading down here at Rudyard's with Ebony Stewart, and I bought one of his books. And he asked me what my last name was because he was going to sign it. I said, I don't like my last name, just put Weasel. So he said, I've given you the last name Househeart. So this poem is called Househeart. It's about my ex. You are a bad story. A collection of snakes entangled in my bones, yet I can't forget you. We danced Earthquake, and I kept taking the tumble, thinking you'd have mercy. But what mercy falls from your eyes when turning your lover to stone? You said, forever your fox, yet I had to read between your words while frozen for years, my heart a house as you dug at the foundation. You could not make yourself a home without bruises, hanging them like paintings. You were the Van Gogh in your skull, the artist frayed because you didn't know your lover. Know your lover. When you punched yourself in the face, what did you expect of me? When I grabbed your hand to stop you, what did you think first? When you sent me face first into the bookshelf, did you know? Houses are sturdy but grow brittle when storms beat them. Your winds are rage, yet you call them a disappointment because your house could not conform when you slid the ring on it. I gave you the gift of these walls. You left holes the size of your head. Said, we all take pain, I just take it better than you. And while sometimes I think it's true, I still took the gift of your anger. Alright, I've got quite a few books, so I'm going to try and blow through a couple of them. So, this one has been a favorite for a lot of people. It's called We Don't Make It Out Alive. I was seeing a therapist for a while. I stopped seeing him because it's expensive. But this is called, my therapist tells me he's going to fuck me up. My hands smooth flesh stretched over the couch. Its firmness holding my body hostage, keeping it from diving down into the void of my stomach. I tell him I can touch the ether, that it's just at the tips of my fingers, and he tells me he can't solve all my problems. I'll have to stay leveled until he's dug through the toxins rustling in my skull. I want to smoke. The package of cigarettes rustles in my pocket as I shift around on tough leather. My heart quakes beneath withered bones. I think they'll crack. One beat, one fracture, pop, pop, pop. This room feels sideways, yet we haven't moved. I tell him, there's not much left to fuck up. And he says, there's more than you can imagine. Let's see. This is for a really old lover. I haven't thought of this guy in a long time. So this is called I Think of You in Terms of Hysteria. The moon hangs empty tonight, leaving tall buildings and sharp sins to shelter us. Under busted streetlights you lure me close, lips cinching, tongue-plucking teeth, leaving the taste of maraschino cigs. Tobacco a class. My fingers climb the stairway of your back, but you have eaten too many thorns, your stems have grown jagged. I slice my hand trying to get inside you. Dance the tango while you make the earth quake. You were obliteration, pulling apart our bodies. Yet this is what I crave. Dust and debris piling in my throat, the taste of our home crumbling into disillusion. Abandonment. You slipped away from me, left your last words on the concrete. They were the shotgun shells pumped into my gut, the last delirium that will never heal. Alright, so I think that's kind of it for the heavy stuff. So, I've had a lot of hookups. If I can find this one. Let's see. Had a lot of weird hookups too. Some people you meet, you talk to them online and you think, that's not so bad. Then you meet them in person and you just completely go, what the fuck? 76. This is what happens when you don't prepare for your readings. You're left trying to figure out where your stuff is at. There we go. So, I was with this guy, and he asked me to eat his ass. I was all too willing to oblige, spreading his cheeks wide as if opening a bag of groceries. My thumbs play with his hole, and he lets out a quiet moan, only audible to the choir of silence in this room. I draw his ass closer, my tongue ready to plunge, but the moment I get inches away, it hits me. Fuck. Rotten, like a bad Caesar salad left out in Texas heat. Boy, do you not know the basics of washing your ass? You can't present a feast that's rotten. What do you tell your guests when they are not able to cure their desire? I pushed him off, said I felt sick. A small piece of toilet paper lies on my belly and I fling it away, grabbed my clothes. I didn't call that motherfucker the next day. So, I love that. Yuck. So, as I've said like a million times over, I'm moving to Michigan to be with my boyfriend. We actually did our 1-year anniversary this past in Disney World. We drove back in July to Florida, which is the longest fucking drive. Probably not as long as what I might have coming up, but still. I'm told by sources beyond me that I can neither confirm or deny this, but the first time you get blown at Disney, before I start the poem, there's an Aerosmith ride. There's an actual Aerosmith roller coaster. I didn't know this, like it shoots you right into this black hole.
In Disney World?
At Disney World, yeah, it's Hollywood Studios.
What, I missed
Wow.
that.
Yeah.
No, Disney World is for...
Yeah. So, the first time you get blown at Disney.
Disneyland.
People scream as the Tower of Terror plummets to madness. You tell me to come to the last stall. Knock. Be quiet. Mick ain't got time for quickies in his town. Amidst wailing children I enter, Aerosmith invades the park, soft guitar strings blending in crowds, and you waste nothing, yanking me close for a kiss before sliding my dick in your mouth. Muffled breaths are hushed by stomping footsteps as you take me whole. Lover, I ain't never allowed sweet emotion to jam while venturing into uncharted eroticism. But I'll walk on your bad side. Downpours heavy, I am all too eager to follow you through waterfalls and uncertainty. Comfort is just another word for lifeless, and you are all too full of vigor. And as we finish this carnal roller coaster, you pull me together, leading me to another impulsive endangerment. So.
Yes.
It's a small world after all.
The bathrooms are quite roomy. You know, it's Halloween, or it was Halloween a few days ago. Every time Halloween comes, everyone says they're so afraid of demons. Everyone is so afraid of demons. But I'd fuck Baphomet in a frightened minute. I mean, I may want dinner first, considering he's the almighty being of evil and death. According to the Christians, and let's be honest, they're a bunch of fucking cultists anyways. But if that little gold devil approached me, I'd open my bed. Fuck, why not? Possess me in ways I ain't never heard of. Set the booze down. I want to be sober when I see your throat. When I warm it up, take the ride. Evil is a mutual endeavor. I'll get lost in in your horns curving from your head. Fuck the baptism by fire. Who needs heat when you're already sanctified? Oh, if you're taking pictures and you're like posting them on social media, can you let me know and tag me? I'd love to see them. I sometimes, like, I looked at the pictures from the Houston Poetry Fest and I saw myself and I was like, that's really atrocious to took that picture. But let me know. I'd love to see any pictures that are taken. So, being with a sexually adventurous boyfriend means you have all these different experiences. I've never been blown in the graveyard before. But you pull me behind a tree as dust settles in. Lips entangled, I see them. Old timers. Spirits without shit to do. When your lips wrap hard around my shaft, I see nobody, but I know eyes watching the distance. Lover, don't you know ghosts love excitement? Cold air whips my ass as you finish, pulling me together as dark rides in. The dead can't see everything, but as we leave, I see them gather, hungrier than I am to finish the night. Let's see here. So this next poem actually came out of a conversation between me and my boyfriend. He likes to believe that Goofy has never had sex when we all know he has, because he has a son called Max. This is called We All Know Goofy Fucks. But I wonder what that dopey bastard gets off to. I bet he opts for the handcuffs when he waltzes into romance some more, chucking his way through the vibrators and garter belts, latching onto a harness he'd been saving up for because Disney don't pay shit. When he takes someone to his bed, does he beg to be the good boy? Or does he desire his thighs to be pummeled, sniveling beneath a gag fitted for his mouth? So, he's never forgiven me for writing that one. He's probably not going to forgive me for reading it, but fuck it. So I'll finish. I got two more for y'all, and then I'll be gone. So,
Say it like that.
Yeah.
I'll do three. If I can find it. I should know this book by heart, but I don't. So the next poem, I should have brought that. Okay. I have problems with ghosts. They're just everywhere. Ghosts hate me. They do mean things to me. This ghost in my house keeps throwing dildos at me. And it's really fucking irritating. Getting up to take a piss only to get hit with a silicone penis. It likes to make sure I get hit with a knot, as if the thickest part of the shaft would make me aim better in the dim lighting of my bathroom. Spoiler alert, it fucking doesn't. The roaches find it funny, hiding in the corners as the specter arms himself with another sexual fantasy encased in an expensive toy, and they're really fucking expensive. The mouse watches from the shelf, enjoying the impact, satisfactory revenge for me murdering its family last winter, and the dog doesn't even seem to be concerned. He watches from the doorway, wondering when his food bowl will be refilled. I asked it what it wanted, and using the last of my lube, it wrote a message on the sheets. Said, man, I couldn't find a clean knife in your kitchen. I just settled for the next best thing, only wishing it were sharper. All right. So I've done this one a few times. So these poems in here I did at this place called the Americana. And I swear on a few of them, there was this lady there, and she did the sign of the cross as I was reading. We didn't know there'd be like a preacher crowd there. Winston was there. You were
Oh, yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Yeah, it was an entire fucking preacher crowd. It was-
Yeah. Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah.
I guess I offended him too.
Did you give them some?
You offend
sex?
everyone, wasn't
They definitely got sex. So, but this one I didn't read. I wanted to read in front of them, but I couldn't bring myself to read in front of a preacher crowd. I met Satan on Grindr. Who needs to sign your fucking book when all I want to do is fuck you over your flames? Stand tall over me, defiler of souls. My body is devoid of Christian doctrine. Souls are aimless. The heart is what drives the body to desire. What is it you really want? Lie down upon your sacrificial rock. Spread yourself open. Scratch your symbol on my back as I enter your cavern. I've danced this tango with evil enough times to know the game is short, but memorable. And when we're finished, keep my number. I may need to know what death feels like after a few more orgasms. Alright, so I'm going to finish with this one. I hope to have this book out by next year, depending on when the artist takes care of the art. But this is called On the Count of Three. Let's have a rapture.
Yeah.
1. I don't think anyone knows what that means. Now, feeling of intense pleasure or joy. I googled it, so I know. But when the Reverend of New Horizons Church says the rapture is coming, he means going to God, heart pulp free and unscathed, abandon life and all that made you. But how can abandonment and joy be so synonymous? When I was a child, I was afraid of that word, afraid of what it meant to be abandoned, afraid of being left behind because some random guy in the sky filled with righteousness thought he could judge me. That's how it is, right? When the Reverend said trumpets would fill the air on the last day, I imagined the final countdown. Because who the fuck wouldn't want that song as their end of days theme? Could you imagine angels flying around killing people for the life they've lived as Europe's epic chorus wails in the air? Bloodshed and purity all wrapped up into one 5-minute song. 2. The first time I kissed you, I peeled bruises off my heart like an orange. It was dark and I couldn't see worth a damn, but I think I did all right given the circumstances. Not that my ego is showing. You got to stroke that later. I could see through your windows, see that only I carried cemeteries while you found ways to make ghosts dissipate at night. You say you don't know what I see in you, but lover, I see the rapture in you, curing stutter steps and broken gas tanks about ready to blow. I'll shake my prayer beads to arrows, because you don't define indiscretions as a lifetime, only chapters that can be left alone. 3. What the Christians fail to understand is, if we destroyed ourselves over every sin we've been a part of, everything, every fucking thing, eating shrimp, wearing different clothes, being gay, opening up my Grindr app, everything. We wouldn't even have a body to offer up to Christ. Bones shattered beyond the cover, we'd be like fucking blobs in the line of judgment, like, yeah, I asked for forgiveness. I know the good book, word for word, but let's face it, ain't nobody read that book. They may have read the first line. Ezekiel 23:20. I could barely get through the first chapter. Let me play with pathos. I'd rather yearn for love than seek approval into some fucking rap club. At least then I know what it means to live. And when I fall to the fires, I can say these flames were fucking worth it. Thank you.